Hello, and welcome to another action-packed episode of Geeky Voices Carry, the podcast that cares. With me, as always, are our token Canadian, David Rollins.
Hello, eh?
Our Tolkien. I almost called you our Tolkien Georgian. I think that's just what you'll be from now on. You are our Tolkien Georgian. You will only speak in High Elvish.
No.
Josh.
High elves were there.
Of course there were high elves. What do you think they did all that shit without getting stoned?
Immortality blows without weed.
Yeah. Dealing with dwarves without some serious ganja? No way. And last but not least, Stacy Delorfano.
Hello.
Who gets no epitaph or title or whatever the hell.
Epitaph? How many times are you going to kill Stacy on the podcast?
Wow.
Every goddamn time.
Wow.
That's harsh.
It is.
And next week we're renaming our podcast The Refrigerator.
Oh, man.
Oh, most people won't get that, but...
No.
Yeah.
And those that will write us some emails.
Thanks, Obama.
Some stern emails, which we will deserve.
All right, so we're going to talk about game design tonight.
Okay.
Why? Because we're an RPG podcast, and that's, I guess, what we talk about.
Right.
So
We're explicitly talking about design, though, as opposed to just things we like and don't like.
Explicitly.
well,
It's
I'm
the
sure there'll
same
be
thing.
plenty of talking about what we like and don't like as well, because that's
part of design.
That's what we do. So, but one of the things that we were going to talk about is because, as I'm sure everyone knows, Stacy is designing a role-playing game.
Nobody knows that.
Everybody knows that.
everybody in this chat knows
All
that Stacy
four
is
of us.
designing. Yeah, all four of us. We all know that Stacy.
And Brian. Who's listening?
Well, and of course, Mr. Stacy knows that Stacy is doing.
Rob's arm.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's like what, 5? Okay, so.
Yeah, and I've got 5 players in my game, so they know.
There we go, 10 people. That's
So
once you have 10,
tens of people know, and tens of people
Literally.
literally. And of course, even fewer people know that I have been working for like 2 years now on an RPG called Paranormal Friction. So,
which is strange because you have such an awesome graphic for the cover.
Yeah, it is a great graphic.
What makes it strange?
What?
Well,
That's
you would think more
strange.
people would know because the cover's so awesome.
Oh.
Yeah. No, all
That's
I get.
okay. Even less people know that I've been working on a game for the last couple of years as well.
No.
Yeah, 2 years now.
See, if I'd known you were designing a game, I would have included you in this panel.
Well, if you read my blog, you'd be aware.
Pretty
You have
sure
a
every
blog?
tabletop RPGer has a game that they're making.
Everybody who plays is designing to a certain degree,
Yeah.
whether they're just redesigning what they're already playing or
There are a lot of
making
people
something
who
fresh.
don't actually believe they're doing that, even when they're doing it, though. And it's like the funny thing is, it's not exactly hard to do game design. As soon as you decide to make a house rule, you're doing game design.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Well,
As soon as you decide you want to play a race that doesn't exist in the game, you're designing a game.
I've said that the barrier to game design is literally opening a Word document.
Yeah, pretty much it.
I mean,
It's totally true.
that's yeah, well,
Grabbing it
or should you be an open source fan, a LibreOffice document.
Oh.
Ooh.
Google Docs document.
Or a
works,
Google Doc,
shit,
yes.
yeah.
Am I the only one that uses a pad of paper anymore?
No. I have a whole journal.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I do all my game design in notebooks before I.
But anyway, I mean that's that's literally
Literally.
The only
We're
barrier.
using that word a lot today.
yeah,
We're tossing it around.
Literally.
literally.
I do not think that will
Now, one of the things, and then David, you can, since none of us really care about your game,
Yeah.
you can kind of throw in points as you see fit. But one of the things that talking about with Stacy's game and I, at least. Well, no, because they make good counterpoints. Let me finish. They make good counterpoints because we're sort of at the two opposite ends of the designing spectrum. Because Stacy is making a original set of rules, and I am a lazy bastard who is adapting Fate.
And I'm in the middle.
Well,
You're making a combination of Fate and your original rules?
No, I'm basically
modifying Fate?
I'm doing a combination of
Is it
modifying and
an
borrowing
world
and redistilling
pack?
other mechanics into my own game.
Yeah. Well, see, there's the median. But, I mean, that is pretty much the two sides of the...
I don't think there's anything original in my game. I wonder if there's anything original in everybody's game.
Hey.
No, I've seen some of the actual play of Stacy's game, so I would say no.
Wow. Ouch.
I'm kidding. But anyway, so let's talk about that. Now, why did you decide to go with an original system?
Mainly because I wanted to. I wanted to. I mean, there was really no other reason than that. I've done the other before. I mean, I created a system that was a combination of Shadowrun, Classic World of Darkness, and Cyberpunk 2020 in my early 20s. But this time around, I just want to create the whole thing from the ground up. I want to be able to just tailor everything to the kind of mechanics that I like to see, the things that I think are fun. It's really what I'm doing is I'm designing the game that I want to run.
Now, see, with mine, the reason why I'm sticking to using an existing game is because, well, really, I don't want to recreate the wheel.
Yeah, and I thought about that too.
And in my case, one of the things that I want with my game being that it's inspired by paranormal romance fiction, which as a guy I'm apparently not allowed to like. And but one of the primary things of the fiction is that relationships are very important, and I felt that that Fate, the way it handles aspects and things like that, it rolls a lot of that into a way that I really like from a game.
Well, and it makes sense for that sort of thing as well because the character creation has the interconnectivity and the relationships between the characters as they're being built. That's being developed. Yes, exactly. And
so
they've already done something close to that with the Dresden Files, so I mean, basically somebody's already done all the playtesting for you, so
yeah.
Give her.
But I mean, it's like I said, I didn't want to, recreate things because there's already games like that cover similar ground. So, why have to go through all of why don't we just play X? And when I just go, okay, there you go, you can play X, and this is how you take game X and you do it with this sort of thing rather than going around and punching people in the face.
Okay, well, the big question here then, I think, that everybody who's listening wants to know is why Fate instead of Savage Worlds?
Yeah, exactly. I was about to ask.
As awesome as Savage Worlds is, I said that with a straight face. No, I mean, honestly, I don't think it would be a good fit because,
You don't want to have to learn the rules?
What?
You don't want to have to learn the rules?
Well, no, I've learned the rules. I just, didn't really care for them. Yeah, I've read the rule. I own multiple copies of the rule book.
Yeah, I do as well, actually.
Yeah, so, but, it's just the focus of Savage Worlds wasn't really right for what the kind of games that I want to run.
It's a tactical game.
Stacy has played in some of my playtests of Paranormal Friction, so I mean she sees the kind of games that I want to run with it. Would you?
I haven't actually played any of them.
I thought you were in it early on, weren't you?
I almost was in it early on, and then I wasn't.
No.
I think it was going to be, but I didn't ever get a chance to.
That might have been what it was.
I think it was right around the time that, yeah.
Yeah.
Everything's ready to go to hell in my life. But yeah. But I get the kind of stories that you're trying to.
Yeah. No, it makes sense, and like we said before, Fate is particularly well suited to that. Fate's also great for any kind of entertainment property, like adapting television shows or books and so on. It works really well for that, so it's a good call, I think.
Well, and it just depends on the kind of story that you want to tell in the game.
Okay, so is that the reason that you would choose mechanics? Is that where the kind of story you want to tell, or is it gameplay? What's the focus for your mechanical choices?
I think those are basically the same question.
I suppose.
I mean, gameplay, does kind of reinforce the kind of stories that you want to tell. I know that's a dirty word for a lot of role players.
No, that's fair.
But I meant telling a story.
That's part of the reason why I'm actually creating my own system for Precious Star, because there's some very specific types of stories that I want to tell, and I really don't think that there's anything out there that exists that does a good enough job of telling it. So I just want to pick up and do whatever it is that I want to. I actually redesigned the main mechanics last week, about 2 hours before my game.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure the players loved.
They did, actually. They really liked it a lot. It streamlined things quite a bit. And
that's good.
Fun. Yeah. So I got some good feedback from that. And then one thing is that having the all-female group that I have right now, the feedback is wonderful. It's awesome. There were, like, power dynamics before. I had an all-male group the last campaign that I ran for Precious Dark, and some of the guys could get a little bit pushy, and I know that wasn't really their intention. They just were really excited about things, but it kind of turned me off a little bit as exactly how pushy they were about things that they thought that I should do. And these guys, they come up with ideas every once in a while, but they're really good at just giving me feedback and saying, I like the way this works, this kind of frustrated me a little bit, I didn't like the way this worked, or,
That's interesting.
Questions, great questions. It's been really, really great and very eye-opening so far.
Well, now that also brings up something else that I think is very important for game design, which is playtesting.
Yeah.
Because you learn a lot of things from running a game for other people that you don't necessarily learn when you're just inside your head.
Yeah, and see, and that's something that I learned from development. You don't necessarily know how a program is going to work exactly until you actually start playing with it. So, my idea is the things that I wanted to do. I've changed the system, the overall mechanics, 4 times now. I rewrote the entire game twice now, and each time it's getting stronger and stronger, and it's getting a better and better game. And I really have a lot of fun doing it that way. Otherwise, it feels like work. I'm just sitting down and I'm writing down a bunch of stuff. If I'm coming up with ideas as we're gaming and for specific campaigns and for specific events and stuff like that, that's a completely different beast, and it's fun. It becomes exciting and interesting.
Okay, but so Chris, you're on the other side of that, using already tested mechanics.
Mm.
So your play testing is basically, what are you testing? I guess is what I want to know.
Mostly it was just, to make sure that it works like I thought it would in my head. Because for all I know, it seemed like a really good idea to use Fate for doing this sort of genre. And then, when I started to play, everyone would go, well, this is really stupid. Or, it didn't,
Did you try any other systems?
I mean, I've done things sort of over the years, but nothing specific. This is the first time I specifically sat down and tried to, design, come up with something for the kind of game that I wanted. And really, I mean, the play test, like what Stacy said, the play tests were really positive. Everyone, it really liked how the way Fate runs, let them get into their character. And
have you tested as a player?
No, because I don't want to inflict myself as a player upon a GM.
Okay,
except for Stacy.
Have you had somebody else run it?
Not that I know of, but they could have. I don't know.
Because
all the players had, like working drafts. So
yeah, but I would think that would be a critical part of the playtest.
It could be.
Is to have somebody else run.
Well, but the thing that's different about using an existing system is you do know that it already works for other people.
The system works for other people, but are you getting the result that you want? Are you sharing the game experience that you want to share with your rule book or
for me though, that really comes into a lot of like the supporting text, because when you're using a generic game and kind of adapting it to, and really, I mean, that's what Fate is a generic game.
Yeah.
A lot of the real heavy lifting, I think, comes in the support text, talking about how to do different things. And it's funny because the longer I write at this game, the more I find myself writing about sex. So.
And there's not a lot of sex in paranormal romance games. I mean, novels.
You're apparently just reading the wrong ones.
Oh.
Well, no, I mean,
doesn't have a lot of sex in hers. I mean.
No, a lot of the sex in paranormal romance is kind of off screen.
Yeah, exactly.
Fade to black kind of thing.
Yeah.
But
otherwise, they get dinged for bestiality.
No, not when everyone is a.
Not when they're in human form.
Yeah. Or both of them are, others.
But there is that set of porn novels that involve sex with dinosaurs. So.
Yes.
Well, and there's also and
Bigfoot.
Crap. What's her name?
The dinosaur porn is.
No, the vampire
book
lady.
I can't.
You get a great rating on this video.
You're talking about the Twilight stuff?
No, not the Twilight stuff. The
Anne Rice.
No.
No one wants to roleplay in the worlds of Anne Rice. What the hell are you thinking?
Oh, that's where Vampire the Masquerade came from.
No, that's why would you think?
Different.
No one wants to roleplay in the world of Anne Rice.
All right.
Next thing you're gonna say, people are gonna want to roleplay like Tom Cruise.
He and Elred wrote a bunch of vampire books.
No, that's
Vampire
not. It's
Files
the woman.
And
no.
I want to say she starts with an A, but
she writes under a pen name, and now I can't think of her. I can't think of her name, and she's really popular.
Wow, I'm glad.
I know exactly who he's talking about.
Popular currently? Popular currently or in the past?
No, she's probably still currently popular. I don't know when her last book came out, but I'm not really a big fan because I lump her into the same category as Twilight, pretty much. But she has a lot of sex in her books, and it's often a lot of pervy sex on top of it. So,
okay.
Which I have no problem with pervy sex. I have, I've partaken in it. Anyway, getting back to it. There are going. We know gamers, and there are going to be people who, I hope, are going to want to, do something other than just a fade to black. But
are you writing rules for sex?
No, it's more I'm just talking about.
That would be Apocalypse World.
Yeah, there's games for that already. Yeah. No, and I mean it's more just I kind of want to elevate. I don't want to call them necessarily romantic interactions. I want to elevate romantic interactions above the kind of middle school level of discourse of, is he hot? Does he like me?
How are you going to do that?
Well, hopefully my explanations will work for that. And, yes, I'm going to spend a lot of time explaining to people how. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Good luck with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It actually sounds probably a lot more exciting than it actually is. So I don't know.
It doesn't sound that exciting to me. So.
No, and a lot of it's just because one of the things that I keep running up against when I do discuss this in public is that a lot of people are just like, well, first off, they can't understand why a guy is interested in this sort of thing.
Yeah.
And then it's like,
oh, are you gay?
Well, no, it usually progresses to, does this mean I can't kill things?
Oh.
Which is like,
like you don't ever read these things, do you?
Yeah, there's a lot.
Sex and murder.
There's a lot of violence, but
yeah.
I mean,
like some of the Mercy Thompson violence is like there's some parts that I skipped over.
Yeah, there's
really.
Yeah, it's funny, you know, having met Patricia Briggs, it is really weird because she's like about this far away from like grandmotherly. And so it was like, because I'd read like 3 or 4 of her books when I met her, and it was just kind of weird meeting this like meeting this like middle-aged hippie woman and going, how in the hell did some of that stuff come out of you?
Well,
you know,
you probably don't really want to know.
But and actually, that's one of the things that I talk about a lot. Not a lot, but I do talk about in my game too. Is going on about how, and you shouldn't be afraid to like drag your character over the coals, because no matter what the hell kind of, you know, bad crap you come up with for your character in this game, odds are someone who's writing the, you know, the source material has come up with something so much worse for theirs.
Well, and the system's for that well, because it rewards that sort of character creation with the compels and the points and the rest of it. There's a lot of balancing for taking solid disadvantages.
Right, and enacting them during play.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's why my game is better. I'm kidding.
Well, I think that's just why your game works.
To be fair,
but I mean that's why I went with an existing game for what I wanted to do, because I didn't have to, you know, why bother rewriting everything when there's already a game that I can use for free that does what I want, and I can just kind of work in some extra text and try to explain things to people. So.
All right.
Yeah.
I just want to see a group of average D&D nerd type guys try and play Chris's game, because that would be hilarious. You're gonna have to get them liquored up first to get the full effect, but once you get that point, it's gonna be amazing.
Oh my god.
I would enjoy watching something like that. I don't think I would actually be able to GM it myself, but I think I would enjoy watching something like that, only because, you know.
Hey, Indie Plus did something like what happens when OSR guys play story games a little short while ago. A month ago, maybe.
Probably break them.
I'm sure everything was just fine.
Yeah, probably.
They were bored to tears.
Well, that's just story games.
Well, I mean, my thing is really it's an audience sort of thing. I mean, I don't really think that. Well, I mean, it's a fairly well-known fact, I think, that I'm not a big fan of D&D.
Well, it's well known for us.
Yeah.
Well, and now it's well known to the tens of people that listen to this. The literal tens of people who listen to this. But I mean, so that's why I'm drawn more towards games that don't have a D&D-ism to them. So.
And yet, you seem to love swords and wizardry.
Yeah.
I know. I'm a complex, and
he just likes over the giant toads.
Yeah. Oh, just wait. I've got giant toads lined up for the Marvel game. So.
No, I thought you were gonna say Paranormal Friction. Ooh.
No.
Incredible giant toads.
Incredible.
Remarkable?
No.
Are they gonna have
They're
little
amazing giant
hammers?
toads.
Oh God, not amazing.
Yeah.
No,
but they will. But they will do the hammer dance. So.
Oh, okay, that's cool. As long as we're wearing the hammer pants.
Dude. Can't touch it.
Okay.
All right, Josh.
What?
What?
I don't know.
What'd I do?
No.
Well, you just want me to throw input?
If you were going to hypothetically design a game,
yeah.
Well, where would you start? What would pick something. Let's say that's really important to you that you really like My Little Pony.
No. Actually, I just had a rough ideas over the past week, so we've been playing Marvels. Basically, what I started with was, since we're playing Marvels, I had superheroes in mind.
Okay.
So general genre. And then the one thing that I kind of liked with Marvels that I don't think it touched on enough was the fact that superpowers should be dangerous and hard to control. So that's kind of like the one feature that I like with superhero genres. Moving from there, it goes to mechanics, and wanting to match the mechanics to the flavor of the genre, which was superpowers that are difficult to control. So the only, just rough idea that I've been having is trying to go for some sort of like either percentile or sort of a bell curve, and then having to match it towards the middle of the whole entire process. So like, around 50% would be a success, and then going too far, it would be too strong. Going too, low, it would be too weak, and then having it play out around there.
Now that's interesting because you don't really see a lot of things that weigh their probability.
Yeah, exactly. That's why it would have to be something repeated for that. But it would all revolve around the idea of the superpowers, and if you go too far, you end up killing people. You go too little, and you just end up not being able to stop someone. All that.
That's interesting.
This should be a game of like teen superheroes that are, like in a school or something, like X-Men kind of thing.
That could be it, but I was thinking more of just the world itself just being supers, just being unwieldy, because I always find that weird that Superman can have the strength of something just stupid, strong, and can just control it so easily.
Pull his punches perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you think he'd be killing people by accident. He'd sneeze and kill someone.
Which I think that
or just be having a bad day and punch somebody's head off.
Yeah. Which is why I kind of like the Sentinel from, is that DC or Marvel? The guy that's kind of crazy but super powerful.
Yeah, that's the Marvel character.
Yeah, I liked him a lot for a lot of that. So, there you go.
Well, and you also have characters like, Cyclops, who really can't control, without outside, assistance, can't really control his powers.
His was always kind of just sort of there, but always just brought up for very specific reasons. It was always weird. And there you go. Yeah, that's basically as far as that process has gone, so.
That's interesting.
What about you?
For me, I started with gameplay. I was trying to streamline it. I hate rolling the dice. I'm excited by... Yeah, I know. I'm excited by the probability and the changes.
RPG?
Jesus, no. Will you just let me talk? I like the randomness of the dice, but I don't like rolling and then rolling again and then rolling a third time. I like a single roll. So Marvel's great for that. It's a single roll. Fate, it's the same thing. It's nice in Fate. Just roll once. Talos Lanta, the same thing. Zephyrs, all had single roll damage, success. Your success and how successful you are is all in one thing. So if you're rolling to hit, how well you hit and hence how well you damage something is all in one shot. Which I like. It's elegant, it's fast, and then people are talking about what they're going to do and what they're doing and what happens, rather than, okay, I rolled this and I rolled that, and then I'm rolling this dice and that dice, and I add my this type of damage. Oh, well, he's resistant to that type of damage, so we have to do something. Like, no, just no. And I also liked a curve, and I liked degrees of success. So I borrowed.
So you like it to be simple yet complex.
Simple. I like having a simple mechanic that can express a complex event. And so that's what I created after a lot of fiddling around.
You know what you need? Exploding dice.
No, I don't need exploding dice.
No, I mean literally exploding dice. I think if you get a critical miss, your die should actually explode.
No, catastrophic failure leads to other bad things happening.
The dice guillotine.
Dice
a little French mob wrapped up around the little guillotine. Put it on.
That's right. That's right. They cut it in half. But yeah, no, I made it work with 3 die 6, and I think it's GURPS. Except reversed. You roll high instead of rolling low, like GURPS. But yeah, kind of, not really, no, because it's not anywhere near as complicated as GURPS. It's funny because I started with a system that was fairly complicated as far as skills and character creation. And I thought, oh shit, I just want to test the system. So I came up with a basic game to test the system, and now I think I'm just going to stick with the basic game because it's just so elegant and so easy. I might just use it.
Mm-hmm.
Unless I use it for, say, science fiction or something, which is more skill-based with specific skills.
So you're just trying to do something where the mechanics go faster? Is there a type of gameplay you're trying to actually...
Yeah, the pulpy fast action.
Savage Worlds, basically. Well,
except delivering on the promise that Savage Worlds makes, right? Actually have a pulpy fast action game. Zephyrs was really well designed for that. The old Conan game, TSR Conan. It was a single roll, very much like in a phase rip kind of thing, and very pulpy, very quick to play, and had that sword and sorcery kind of thing down, which is what I want as well. When I was creating the game, I wanted a sword and sorcery vibe, that pulpy, old school, Howard-esque.
Something you don't see very much of in tabletop gaming, is what you're saying.
That's right, really. Well, you don't. You see a lot of games promising that. You don't see a lot of games delivering on it.
That's good.
Now, let's kind of go to the opposite end of things. I'll start with Stacy because she looks like she's doing something else.
I'm doodling. I'm totally listening.
What do you do when you run into problems in the game design part of things? When you think it's going to do one thing, and then when you play it, it ends up doing another.
I punch stuff.
That's why I asked Stacy rather than get the typical.
Whale the crap out of a heavy bag. That's my solution.
I look at what it was that I was trying to do. Like Precious Dark, actually, I wanted to have a pretty fast system, but I had too many dice that you had to pick up. I was working on dice pools and different types of dice, and it got frustrating really quickly because instead of actually, the whole idea of it is that you describe your action as you're picking your dice. Like, I am going to hit this guy with my mutated ray gun, and that's how you're adding your dice into your pool in order to make the roll. And then when you make the roll, it's a gradient as to how successful you actually are, all the way up to a master success where you get to narrate your own success at your option.
That's cool.
Yeah. So I wanted it to be super fast. There's one roll for everything in the entire game, whether or not you're soaking damage or you're causing damage or you're trying to hit something or whatever it is. It's all one roll, one action roll. And I just changed the instead of having separate dice, you just get bonuses instead. So I had like a D4 was the lowest level of a skill. Now that's basically just a +1. And then a D6 would be +2, and then D8 is +3. And so, I just had everybody convert their character sheets over. I started designing Precious Dark by playtesting it. I didn't, when I first playtested the game, I have very, very little in the way of actual mechanics, and there was hardly anything written down. I actually sat and told people for an hour how it was that they were supposed to play the game, helped them create their characters, then start. And while I was doing this was the first contested game that I ran. While I was doing all of that, I was also printing out a random cavern map from an online map maker and designing the adventure that we were going to run because I had no time to actually put anything together ahead of time. So I ended up doing that. It was interesting and a lot of fun. But, and that's the thing that's what I like about it, is I'm constantly making adjustments. I'm constantly changing things. Okay, it looks like it's way too hard to get to a master success, so let's adjust the target numbers a little bit. Or, too many people are now getting master successes, let's adjust the target numbers a bit more.
Right.
And I take a lot of feedback from the players as to what kind of things they want to see. Especially when I see them, they're actually getting the feel of the type of game that it is, and they're going with everything that's happening there, and they start to come up with really cool ideas that I just steal right and left.
That's awesome. So you abandoned funny dice, and you have just one die now?
Yeah, well, it's a 2d6. You start with 2d6. And then if it's something that you have a livelihood in, and livelihoods are like they're what you do in Precious Dark. If it's something that you have a livelihood in, then you get another d6. So you can have up to 3d6.
Oh, okay.
And then pretty much everything else is all bonuses on top of that.
In my game, the max you can be rolling is 4d6.
Yeah.
I'm using 30-siders in place of fate die.
That's a good idea. I like that. Yeah.
So every roll uses four 30-siders.
God. I was considering the D1000 just because.
D100s.
I'm gonna
draw little pluses and minuses.
Yeah. So it gives me a random number from 4 to 120.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good way to go. And then you can get really specific.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there's tables
I'm curious.
To refer to then. So
going to D6s, because I had really different reasons for going to D6. Why did you go to D6 from the funny dice? Because people love the funny dice.
I actually
hold on before you answer that. I just want to make one really quick sentence, and that sentence is, gamers like funny dice. Now continue, Stacy.
Okay. The 2d6 was always part of it. It was 2d6 and then it was plus whatever additional dice you pick up along the way.
Okay.
So I just kept to the original base that I had, and then everybody was telling me that the livelihoods that I had weren't doing anything at the time, and they were hoping that they would actually do something, so I started to just add another d6 on top of that. The rest of the dice, I don't know. I actually do have the funny dice are used in damage when it comes to weapon damage.
Oh, okay.
But mostly because I just haven't changed that yet, and I don't know if I'm going to.
It works for damage though because it gives a nice variety.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do like that a lot. And everything explodes in Precious Dark too. So, and if you roll, so when the one change that I made had a lot of ramifications to it. Like, everything is always exploded in Precious Dark, and on top of that, if you roll all ones, that's a critical fail. So by removing like 3 or 4 extra dice that you're rolling, I'm making it a lot easier for you to
roll all ones.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. So I'm hoping that will add some interest to.
That's kind of fun. That's wild.
A little bit. Yeah. And I'm going along the lines of like Shadowrun. If you play Shadowrun, there's rules in the front that tell you how to make changes to make it more cinematic versus more kind of gritty and hardcore. And some of that is basically just on whether or not dice explode. And And I'm going to have rules like that in Precious Dark as well. So if you want to run a grittier game where it's harder to get master successes, you can do that. Or if you want to run a game where you can have these big, explosive master successes, which I think is more along the lines of the type of game it is, because it's based off of kind of this amalgamation of like Saturday morning cartoons and crazy things that can go on, Neil Gaiman novels,
Right.
wild things should be happening all the time in Precious Dark. So I try to make it so that that actual mechanics are actually built into that. And also I expect people to help each other a lot and to solve things in an unconventional manner. Like most of the characters, you cannot make a strict combat monster. It doesn't really work that way.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you want to get by this giant snail that is threatening to eat you, you have to figure out another way to do it. And people have come up with really, really creative things that they've actually done. And I reward group effort by making it so that you can give your bonuses away to somebody else as a way of helping them.
Cool.
Do snails have mouths?
Yes, I think so. Yes.
I never got to tame a giant killer snail, though.
No, what did you tame? You tamed a fly.
And some deer. And
deer. They haven't come across a lizard deer yet.
Lizard deer are pretty cool, yeah.
Yeah. They're actually in a prehistoric cave right now, and they've been trying to decipher some cave drawings that I've been giving them, and the Weird has been animating bones, and they have a pet Tyrannosaurus Rex animated set of bones that's been animated
that's
by
cool.
some
That's pretty awesome.
It's following them around. Yeah, and they met a mer shark. No, it wasn't a mer shark. It was an octo shark.
Octo shark sounds just awesome.
Octo mer shark. Octo. It's a chick with really sharp teeth, and octopus things, and one of the characters went off and had sex with her.
Yeah.
That's always the solution. When you talk about exploding dice, because different people call exploding dice different things.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
Exploding dice, if you roll a 6, you get to re-roll it and add the bonus, add whatever it is to it.
Is it always a 6, even when you're rolling like your damage dice?
No. If it was your damage dice, it's the highest number on the die.
Okay, so if, say, you're rolling a d10, you're less likely to explode, but you're more likely to get higher damage to begin with.
Right, exactly.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
All right, now I have another question. And this is going to start with Stacy. I like picking on her.
I guess so.
Well, and it saves me from having to ask David questions. So.
That's fair.
Now, as you're
so Canadian of you.
Well, given the choice, I would rather ask you a question too.
Now, as you are designing Precious Dark, do you have a sort of like platonic ideal target audience or target game player?
I don't think you're using that right.
No, I'm using it right.
Okay.
Not really.
Ideal?
Probably not, no.
No, well, unless you can't just me, because these are like I'm taking basically all of my favorite mechanics from all of the games that I've played over the years, and I'm kind of distilling them down into what it is that I want to make Precious Dark. When I first started Precious Dark, it was supposed to be kind of a grimdark Shadowrun-esque kind of game, and I got bored of that really quickly because that's everywhere, and I played the shit out of that in the 90s, so it was just like, I'm kind of done with that.
I remember thinking it would be cool, and then thinking that that would run out pretty quickly.
Yeah, exactly. So, I started moving in the direction of making it, what I want it to be is a little bit more carefree, and a little more, it's a completely an exploration game. Everything that you do in Precious Dark is pretty much about exploring, and I'm actually adding homesteading options in, so as you're out exploring and gathering resources, you can take them back to your homestead and grow your homestead and get more stuff as a result of doing that.
Oh, that makes sense for the world.
do more exploration. Yeah, and that means that people will actually do things like what Josh did in the game, which was to actually he tamed some beasts instead of just killing them, because it makes more sense for him to take them back to his farm and then breed them and have more of them than it is for him to just kill them right on the spot and just take whatever they have. So, you know, that's the kind of audience that I'm looking for is the kind of audience that wants to play that game, that, you know, that doesn't actually want to play the Grimdark game. That's okay with having something that's a little bit silly in places and a little bit slapstick. Everybody has sentient pets. I mean, this group of people, everybody has a pet. They're all sentient and they all talk to each other all the time. And so, yeah, you can't have that level of goofy. Oh,
when you've got sentient pets, do you get other people to play the pet of, like, say I have a pet, would you have Josh play my pet, or do you play all the pets?
It's a combination of the player plays them, and I play them when it's convenient for me, and I need something to do something. Sometimes I'll just make one of their pets do it. Okay. They all have personalities. Part of Precious Dark is that you pick, I forget what I called it, but it's kind of like a personality trait where it's your the something one. So there's like the weird one, and there's the clever one, and there's, you know, the strong
like the Breakfast Club.
I didn't think of it that way. But, you know, so even the pets have these type of archetypes, and I can look at somebody's character sheet and know exactly how I'm supposed to play their pet, and then I can play it that way.
In one line.
Yeah. Pets are fun. I love to see, and it's a very open system too. So I don't have many written skills down. I will eventually have both a list of skills and the availability for you to pick your own. But right now, everybody's basically picking their own skills and picking their own mutations, and even describing their own weaponry and armor. And it's given me a lot of interesting insight into what kinds of things that people like to choose, and how they kind of set up their characters and stuff like that.
So it's like Game World.
Yeah. The Fate in some ways too. You know, there's the currency for using your mutations is called weird points, and you get them a lot like you get Fate points, not quite the same. Yeah.
So what about you, David? What about? No, I'm going to ask you a question. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay.
Go
Who do you think is in your head? Who do you think is the target audience for this game of yours? Should you ever put it out there where others can see it?
Who's the target audience? I guess people who've played with me in the past and had fun.
So none of us is what
none of you guys. No, it's when I was running. A lot of it comes out of years ago when I was running stuff. I used to streamline things, and I would just riff off of the rules, especially in, like, say, 2nd edition D&D. There was a framework of rules that you could riff off of to make fast decisions, so you never had to consult a rule book. People like that who are not interested in consulting a rule book, who are just interested in playing and getting to it quickly, to getting to the fun part, whichever the fun part is for them. If it's combat, no problem. If it's role play, no problem. People who just want to get in. That's what I'm designing my game for, is people who want to get to the point and don't necessarily have a lot of time. So I guess probably I'm designing this game for people like myself who left gaming because their lives got in the way and came back later with a whole lot less time than they had before. The last time I went to design a game, I was mixing up stuff from Legend of the Five Rings and Hero System, including and a few other things that were fairly complicated and very crunchy to get a very simulationist kind of game. Now it's all about.
I think I just fell asleep hearing you describe that.
Exactly, right? But in your 20s, when you don't have kids and you have tons of time, and everybody has all this time to craft their character, it's not a big deal to play something like that. But now, nobody has time for that. I would hate to play something like that.
That's why my 20s were taken up with GURPS.
It all makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. And that's exactly the kind of thing I'm talking about. So I dumped, like, I didn't do any of that when I started. When I started out, it was all about fast and easy and accessible. Because I also have a lot of new people that are are getting in now, and you go to teach somebody a game, it's got to be easy. It's got to be simple and straightforward. It's part of the reason I went with a unified mechanic. Just roll one way all the time, instead of, because I remember when we were teaching Ethel to play Swords and Wizardry, and she's always like, what dice do I roll now? And it's like, I knew all the time what she should be rolling because I'd been playing D20 type games forever, but a D20 game is really a D whatever
you're using at the moment game.
At the moment, yeah, exactly. It just creates another barrier to getting to what you want to do, whatever it is in the game. So I'm just cutting all those barriers down and going for pulpy, fast play, which is what I love.
So why didn't you just use the Marvel Superheroes game?
Because I don't like the chart.
Why don't you just use Savage Worlds? That does everything.
Because Savage Worlds is slow and complicated. It drives me nuts. And the rules are like, what? What?
You know, when I first started talking about making Precious Dark, I had people coming to me like every other day saying, you should use this system, or you should use that system, or you should use my system. That one I heard like 3 or 4 times. And that actually is kind of part of what pushed me into wanting to make my own system, was that I was looking at all these other systems and I'm like, nothing really fits exactly what I want to do. And then I was kind of like, it's not that hard to write a system. I made it out to think that it was a lot harder. I was going to actually just make Precious Dark as a systemless setting to start with. And then I started realizing that it really wasn't that complicated to actually design a game. Yeah, and so I just started going with it.
I think some game designers have kind of created this illusion that it's really hard to make games because they want to look like they're super special.
Right. There's like all of this like highbrow kind of conversation that goes on about what kind of play you want to get from your players, and and how they're going to do this and that and whatnot. And it really, if you're an outsider or if you've never actually done anything like that before, if you've never even run a game before, it makes it sound like, gosh, there's a whole lot to do this, and I think
you need to think about that stuff, though. I think you need to think about what kind of experience you want to create at your table before you start choosing mechanics.
See, now for me, part of the starting point for me is and this is, I don't know why, but this is an opinion that tends to upset people.
Opinions that upset people?
Well, it's not necessarily just my opinion, but it's just I'm puzzled at why this always, when you say this to people, why it upsets them. But the reason why really I started doing this was because it's fairly well known, I'm a fan of paranormal romance. Yes. What isn't there a lot of role-playing games about out there? Paranormal romance. So I started from the idea of, if there isn't a game doing what I want, I should make it.
Exactly.
So, but again, like I said, for some reason, when you say that to people, they get really upset, and I don't know why.
I think because they think that they're supposed to complain until somebody makes the game for them.
Oh, that's just crazy talk.
That seems to be the prevailing opinion.
Well, it is, and a lot of people they'll say things like, I don't have the talent, or I don't have the skill, or I don't know how to make a game, or
there's no talent or skill involved, really.
No, you just do it, and if it doesn't work, you keep trying.
You gotta understand that a lot of these dudes who are making these games have they're not really, sorry, but they're not Einstein.
Not different than the rest of us.
They don't have degrees in game design. You don't go to college and learn how to design games. It's just not the way it happens. The way that games get designed is they play something, they decide that they don't like the way that it actually runs. They want it to be a little bit more like this, so they start changing things. And before they know it, they have a whole bunch of house rules that actually amounts to a game.
Right. Could you imagine taking a third-year seminar class on, like, the abstraction of hit points? Like, really, what would that degree look like? That would be awful. That would be just so painful. 4 years of freaking game design.
I bet UC Berkeley offers a coursework in that.
They have those things.
They have given a degree in thaumaturgy, after all. So
isn't Berkeley where acid came from?
The first guy I dated out of high school was getting a degree in storytelling.
Wow. Wow.
Storytelling is a craft, but I don't know. I think a degree would be. I would think a diploma would be more useful for storytelling. It's more of a hands-on thing. It's not theory. It's a doing. I've met professional storytellers.
At like a pizza place, I think.
Yeah, well, yeah.
He wasn't that great of a storyteller either. I don't know exactly how he got.
Maybe that's why he wanted the education.
Yeah, that was a mistake.
Yeah.
Kids,
but anyway,
go to school for something you really like.
Yeah.
But anyway, I mean that's why I started, was because what I wanted to game about wasn't being represented, so I went and made it.
Yeah.
See, and I did it because similar kind of thing, but mostly just the game I wanted to play didn't exist.
I think that's why most people do it.
So it would be the exact same thing.
Well, no, it was the way I wanted to play wasn't there. I was constantly changing games and streamlining them and
then you said it's because the game isn't there, and that's what he said, and that's what I said, and that's what Stacy said, and that's basically the core point of all.
Why you make a game, yeah.
Yeah, but
unless you're Wizards of the Coast, in which case you make a game to make money.
But
if we could do it to make money, oh yeah, but
you know, and actually, it's funny because if this were this is a snobby thing for me to say, but I think that what I want to do for a game is something that would actually be of more interest to people who aren't gamers. But unfortunately, none of them are ever going to see it.
That's probably true, yeah.
Why not?
Why not?
That's a marketing issue.
Because I'm not going to ever have this weird little pamphlet in Walmart.
That's true.
Yeah, but okay. What about where the paranormal romance writers are marketing? What about their book signings? What about readings? When they do a reading, why can't you be there and have your pamphlet there?
Well, because authors that are doing a reading and book signing and selling thing tend to get kind of pissy if you try to sell things to the people that they've gathered together.
Right, but say you organize the book reading and you organize a signing, bring them in to leverage your game.
Yeah. How much money and time that would cost? You can just go to paranormal romance forums and just throw an ad up there.
Absolutely, yeah, forums. Find out where these people are gathering and just market to them. I mean, this is not rocket science.
No.
I was just throwing out one idea, but there's a million ways you can reach them. You have to go where they're at.
Sorry.
Having problems with keeping your mic up?
Timber. But yeah, you just find out where your audience is and market to them. You don't have to just throw it on Kickstarter and then send it out on G+ for the regular 300 people that fund things so you can get a production run.
Now, what I would say is not the marketing, but getting non-gamers to try tabletop RPG that requires GMing and stuff. That is...
See, now, I think you're more likely to get non-gamers to play a game that has a GM, only because that way you...
I mean, with none of them that have any GM experience or
is true.
Point of reference for it.
If you're doing it more of a... See, I see gaming as being an evangelical activity, where you've got the one person who is recruiting others, and... So, I mean, if you're using that model where you have the germ person who is going to go out and run games.
Well, but I'm saying that if you're just trying to get non-gamers to do this, then you're going to have some catalyst.
You know what, though? I think the bar for that is a lot lower than it used to be.
Yeah.
For a couple of reasons. One, the mechanics are way simpler now for role-playing games. And secondly, a lot of people play all kinds of tabletop games, and card games, and the rest of it.
It's not just mechanics. It's the creative process behind it. Is not people aren't as
don't even worry about the creative process. The idea is getting over the hurdle of wanting to try it, because people play all kinds of different board games now. Because they play all kinds of different games that aren't the same as their old expectation. It's not Monopoly. There's no board for this game. Oh, okay, that's cool. That's...
No,
less of a hurdle than it was 40 years ago.
Yeah, but the thing is, though, those games also don't have like the world building that is involved with it, or the character building.
You don't think people can world build? Didn't you play Sims? What about Farmville? Like, people world build constantly.
Well, that's
Minecraft.
I don't.
That made me.
Yeah, but see, you're taking like a literal definition of world building, though.
Yeah. So.
I mean, there's more to it than that. I mean.
But it's not as scary because of that.
Hey, I have to go.
Okay.
All right. Well, let's wrap up anyway. We probably should anyway. So let's do our something cool, and I'm gonna make Stacy do hers anyway, even though she wants to leave.
I have several something cool. I have to pick one, or
yes.
Well, because you're in a hurry.
You're in a hurry. You're the one who said I have to go, and then you're like,
I'm in a hurry
I have
because
6 something cools.
I'm in a hurry because my husband needs to go to bed so that he can go to work in the morning, and I want to catch up on Agent Carter, and I only have one episode left before I'm all
completely. Would you like me to just tell you what happened?
No, would you shut up?
Oh, yes, I can tell you now.
David and I will act out.
And that's my something cool, so there you go.
Agent Carter's or something cool?
Yeah, that, and I'm running my Classic World of Darkness game on Saturday.
Oh,
that you guys are playing in, so you should know that.
Flakes.
Oh, yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, don't forget that, because, it's kind of important.
That's this weekend, right?
Okay. Yeah, Saturday.
Okay.
Saturday, I forget what time, but it's in your Google thing, so,
Yes, thank you.
All right, Josh, what's yours?
Heroes of the Storm. It went into closed beta, I think, 2 or 3 weeks ago, and it's just a lot of fun. It's another Blizzard game.
Was that someone making a sound of derision?
Wasn't me.
No, it's unrelated.
Oh.
Stacy, why do you have to hate?
I didn't do it.
All right, David.
Yeah.
Your turn.
Something cool was Agent Carter as well, so I don't know.
So you can't have that. You have to come up with something.
No, I have to come up with something else.
You're playing in a cool game on Saturday.
I'm playing in a cool game.
You already used that too.
You know what?
I use it from the running section. He's using it from the playing perspective, which is a completely different thing.
Oh, so totally different.
Yeah.
Yep. See?
And a webcomic that I probably haven't mentioned yet, Battle Pug.
Battle Pug?
Battle Pug. It's really cool. It's a sword and sorcery kind of thing. It's Conan-esque, but silly.
Pugs, dogs.
It's got pugs, like giant pugs.
Wow.
Big enough to ride on.
Wow.
How would they fare against a giant, say, poisonous toad?
What about a giant corgi?
They did fight giant tarantulas with the pug, and the pug did extremely well. That's a spoiler. I apologize for that. But not everybody did well.
You keep spoiling things,
Yeah.
Davis. The more
The spoiler.
Anyways, I think it's battlepug.com, but if you Google Battlepug, you'll find it, and it's really enjoyable. It's an interesting form, like the way he sets up the storytelling is cool, and the way they do magic, they split it into 3 types. There's animal magic, stone magic, and plant magic, which is neat, and there's this cool overarching story. I think you should check it out. That's my something cool.
Oh, excuse me. For mine, I'm going to go with a comic I picked up this week. It is the first issue of a new Grant Morrison comic, which means it makes no bloody sense. And it is an image book, and it is called Nameless, because apparently the main character has gotten rid of his name so that people can't use magic on him ever.
He just got rid of it?
Yes.
How do you do that?
It's
not hidden, he's just removed?
I'm assuming they're holding that for the second issue.
That's the entire point of it?
He got rid of his name. But it's really interesting because apparently they have an extinction event of a like 50,000 foot meteor that's going to hit the Earth, and so they're sending a nameless guy up in space to fight it with magic.
Hey.
Right. Well,
it reminds me of the spoofed sub little thing in Penny Arcade Comics where it's just this wizard guy that dual wields wands. He just dual wields wands for the hell of it.
Like gangster style?
Yeah. And it's just
Chow Yun Fat style wand use. But yeah, it
sounds like Stargate, actually.
There was a nameless guy fighting an asteroid in Stargate.
There was goofy people using magic to fight.
I'm hoping that they've built their own space shuttle that is being done by a multi-billionaire, and they're going to blast off towards this asteroid.
And they just use magic to fly up there.
Because that would be
silly.
Yes, that would be silly. Of course,
he can't use up all his magic just getting there. He's got to do stuff once he gets there.
Yeah, he's only got so many spell slots. But it was a fun comic. It makes about as much sense as my description of it, but that isn't all that unusual for a Grant Morrison comic.
Wow.
The idea of erasing your true name so you can't be affected by magic just blows my mind.
Yeah.
Like, how do you erase your name without erasing your existence? Like, that is...
It sounds like something I've heard in manga.
Okay. Well, I don't read enough manga.
No, apparently.
And by enough, I mean any.
You know, I was reading a manhwa earlier today.
A manhwa?
It's Korean.
Yeah, it's like Korean manga. Yeah.
Oh, is it?
It came off to be Chinese, I think, but whatever.
Yeah. I think this was, I don't know. Doesn't really matter. But anyway, on that note, we will end another episode of Geeky Voices Carry. As always, I am your moderator who failed to introduce himself at the beginning of this podcast.
Everybody knows who you are.
I said your name once.
Yeah. So,
he's the token moderator.
I'm the token moderator, and everyone say good night.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone.